Hey guys, how you doing? It's been a while, and Christmas and everything happened. I haven't been uploading a while. I'm starting to experiment with using AI to make songs. I thought that'd be cool, but I am still a human, and so I thought, well, I got this book right here called Malcolm X Speeches. Now I said this is one of, if not one of the greatest books I ever read, in my personal opinion. Of course, others may disagree. Right there's Brother Malcolm X. Now, I thought, well, maybe as like a little side thing, I'll read chapters of this book and I'll break down some stuff and I'll try to do that because I don't know if you noticed, but I'm not really the target that Malcolm X was speaking to when he was. He was speaking more towards people of color and all that. And of course, I'm not one of them. Uh, I do very much understand his speeches and his ideas, and I really do like this book. So I thought, maybe it might be. It's kind of like imagine a midget reading a book about how to grow height. That's not. Oh, actually, that's exactly what it's for. Imagine a giant reading a book about how to grow height. Anyway, I don't want to be too long, so let's cut short. This is Malcolm X Speaks. Over and over again in simple imagery, savagely uncompromising, he drove home the real truth. I.F. Stone, Malcolm X Speaks. Selected speeches and statements. Edited by Prefactor Notes by George Bretman. Or edited with prefactory notes by George Bretman. Yeah, let my scratchy, cheese grater voice calm you down for this season. Malcolm X Speaks. Contents. Forward. VII. First off, message to the grassroots. Second off, a Declaration of Independence. Oh, yeah, I should probably read they do. Number one, a message to the grassroots. November 10th, 1963, Detroit. A Declaration of Independence. March 12th, 1964, New York City. The Ballad or the Bullet, one of his most famous ones. April 3rd, 1964, Cleveland. The Black Revolution. April 8th, 1964, New York City. Letters from Abroad. This is my favorite one, personally. Uh, no, not my favorite. Well, you'll find out my favorite later, but Letters from Abroad. April 20th, 1964, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. May 10th, 1964, Lagos, Nigeria. May 11th, 1964, Accra, Ghana. The Harlem Hate Gang Scare, May 29th, 1964, New York City. Appeal to the African Heads of State, July 17th, 64, Cairo, Egypt. At the Audubon, December 13th, 64, New York City. Oh yeah, by the way, this is 8 months before he dies, but they don't focus on his death, which I love. They focus on his speeches, and these are some of the most important ones. With Miss Fannie Lou Hamer, December 20th, 1964, New York City. At the Audubon again, December 20th, 1964, New York City. To the Mississippi Youth, December 31st, 1964, New York City. Prospects for Freedom in 1965, January 7th, 1965, New York City. After the bombing, pretty sure that's like after the bombing of his house. I could be wrong, I'm not good at remembering. February 14th, 1965, Detroit. Confrontation with an expert, February 18th, 65, New York City. And expert is in quotes. And last answers and interviews, a selection of statements made in interviews and meetings between November 23rd, 1964 and February 21st, 1965, last 3 months of Malcolm X's life. Forward. Malcolm Little was born in Omaha, Nebraska. On May 19th, 1925, a dropout from high school at 15, he was convicted of burglary and sent to prison in his 21st year. There he was converted to the Nation of Islam, Black Muslims. Where he left prison in 1952, he dedicated himself to build the Black Muslims. building the black Muslims, and adopted the name Malcolm X. He withdrew from that movement in March 1964, organizing the first Muslim Mosque, Inc., and later the non religious organization of the Afro American Utility. He made two trips to Africa and the Middle East. During 1964, 3 months after his return to the United States, he was assassinated in New York on February 21st, 1965. His own story of his life is recorded in the autobiography of the Malcolm X, Grove Press, 1965. This book is a selection of speeches by Malcolm X. All of them were made during the last years of his life, except for the first selection made shortly before his departure from the Black Muslim movement. With that exception, it ranges in time from his Declaration of Independence on March 12, 1964, to his death. It represents only a small portion of the speeches and interviews he gave during that period in the United States, Africa, the Middle East, Europe, and it does not attempt to deal with Malcolm X's assassination. The aim of this book is to present, in his own words, the major ideas Malcolm impounded and defeated during his last year. We feel that his aim is largely fulfilled by the speeches and other materials included here. Even though not all of his speeches were available to us, convinced that Malcolm will be the subject of much study and many controversies in the years to come by, activists in the black freedom struggle as well as historians, scholars, and students will believe that the present book will serve as an invaluable source of material for their studies and disputes. Sorry about that, I'm back. Anyway, so we believe that the present book will serve as an invaluable sorts of material for their studies and disputes, and that it will correct and at least partially some misconceptions about one of the most misunderstood and misrepresented men of our time. Malcolm was primarily a speaker, not a writer. The only thing in this book written by him are his memorandum to the Organization of Africa Utility in Cairo, and some letters. Our printed speeches do not convey the equality, aquilite, his remarkable qualities as a speaker. I'm not a book speaker. I don't know a lot of big words, so you're gonna hear me stumble, but you're probably gonna stumble too. So we'll be doing it at the same time. Uh, what the hell was that? There we go. Their effect on his audiences and the interplay between him and them, these would be best conveyed by a series of long playing record albums presenting this material in his own voice, with its tone, its indignation and anger, with its chuckles and with the interruptions of applause and laughter of the audience. We counted almost 150 such interruptions by the audience in the tape of a single speech. The ballot or the bullet. Since the cost of such a series of albums would, however, limit the number of people who could buy them, presentation of the speeches in book form is the next best thing. A little closer. In editing, we have made only such changes as any speaker would make in preparing his speeches in print and such as we believe Malcolm would have made himself. That is, we have corrected slips of the tongue and minor grammatical lapses which are unavoidable in most speeches, given extraneously or from brief notes, since we sought to avoid repetitions common to speakers who speaks as often as Malcolm did. We have omitted sections that were repeated or phrased in other speeches included here. Omissions of this kind are indicated by three periods. The explanatory notes accompanying the speeches are intended primarily to indicate where and when they were given, with a minimum of interpretive or editorial comment. The reader is urged to bear in mind, though out the book, that Malcolm's ideas were developing with rapidity, rapidity, and certain positions he took in the first 2 months after his break with the black Muslims under further changes in the last months of his life. GB. Malcolm X Speaks. That was the introduction. What time is it? Yeah, it's only been 11 minutes. Okay. Message to the grassroots. In late 1963, the Detroit Council for Human Rights announced a northern. Oh, yeah, right. Forgot about that. So, in this book, of course, it's an old book, but they still refer to people with skin that are down browner as the N word. Now they don't go hard ER, but it has the O at the end of it. I don't believe in that word. I don't really like to say it. So when that happens, I'll just say brother. That's what I say. I say brother, or you say ninja, something like that. You just don't say it. A Northern Brother Leadership Conference to be held in Detroit on November 9th through 10th. And the council's chairman, Rev. C.L. Franklin, sought to exclude black nationalists and Freedom Now party advocates from the conference. Rev. Albert B. Cleage Jr. resigned from the council and, in collaboration with the group of advanced leadership goal, arranged for a Northern Brother grassroots leadership conference. This was held in Detroit at the same time as the more conservative gathering, which was addressed by Congressman Adam Clayton Powell, among other things. The 2 day grassroots conference was climaxed by a large public rally at the King Solomon Baptist Church, with Rev. Cleavage, journalists William Worthy and Malcolm X as the chief speakers. The audience, almost all black, with non-Muslims, in the great majority, interrupted Malcolm with applause and laughter so often that he asked it to be desisted because of the lateness of the hour. So they were laughing real hard. They're having a good time. These people that aren't really like Malcolm. And Malcolm was like, hey, calm down. We're having too much fun here, goddammit. So, a few weeks after this conference, President Kennedy was assassinated and Elijah Muhammad was silenced. Oh, a few weeks after this conference, President Kennedy was assassinated and Elijah Muhammad silenced Malcolm X. This is therefore one of the last speeches Malcolm gave before leaving Muhammad's organization. It is the only specimen of his speeches as a black Muslim included in this book, but it is not a typical black Muslim speech. Even though Malcolm continued to preface certain statements with his phrase, the Honorable Ali, Muhammad says. Oh, and if you haven't read in Ali's book, Muhammad Ali, he has a little section on Malcolm X, and he has a lot of Ali, he's a bit of a Muslim himself. And I always like those little inclusions because it could just be a book about boxing, but they really could dive down to who Muhammad was, not but who Ali was, who this is his speeches though, so these are just his words. But I like when they add little stuff like that, or they just put like stuff that you would only know if you really knew. Like, how was I supposed to know that? Oh, Malcolm X was doing his speeches. He was just chilling with Muhammad Ali. That's crazy. Anyway, so a few weeks after the conference, President Kennedy said, blah, 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 blah. This is therefore one of the latest speeches Malcolm gave before leaving. And blah, 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 blah. He was increasingly in the period before the split, giving his own special stamp to the black Muslims idea, including the idea of separation. The emphasis of this speech is considerably different from earlier ones of the type included in Louis E. Lomax's book, When the World is Given. Dot dot dot. I can't do Malcolm X's voice. I wish I could. That would make this book 10 times funnier. But since I can't, I'm just gonna read it regularly. But the following selection consists of about one half of the speech, the long playing record, Messages to the Grassroots by Malcolm X, published by the Afro American Broadcasting and Recording Company. Detroit is vastly superior to the written text in conveying the style and personality of Malcolm at his best when he was speaking to a militant black audience. This is his words starting right now. We want to have just an off-the-cuff chat between you and me. Us. We want to talk right down to the earth and the language. We want to talk right down to earth in a language that everyone here can easily understand. We all agree tonight. All of the speakers have agreed that America has a very serious problem. Not only does America have a very serious problem, but our people have a very serious problem. America's problem is us. We're her problem. The only reason she has a problem is she doesn't want us here. And every time you look at yourself, be you black, brown, red, or yellow, a so-called brother. You represent a person who poses such a serious problem for America because you are not wanted. Once you face this as a fact, then you can start plotting a course that will make you appear intelligent instead of unintelligent. What you and I need to do is to learn to forget our differences. When we come together, we don't come together as Baptists or Methodists. You don't catch hell because you're a Baptist. You don't catch hell because you're a Methodist. You don't catch hell because you're a Methodist or a Baptist. You don't catch hell because you're a Democrat or a Republican. You don't catch hell because you're a Mason or an Elk. You sure don't catch hell because you're an American. Because if you were an American, you wouldn't catch hell. You catch hell because you're a black man. You catch hell, all of us catches hell, for the same reason. As we're all black people, so we're all black people. So-called brothers, second-class citizens, ex-slaves, you're nothing but an ex-slave. You don't like to be told that. But what else are you going to do? What else are you? You are ex-slaves. You didn't come here on the Mayflower, you came here on the slave ship, in chains, like horses, or cows, or chickens. You were brought here by the people who came here on the Mayflower. You were brought here by the so-called pilgrims, or founding fathers. They are the ones who brought you here. They were the ones that brought you here. We have a common enemy. We have this in common. We have a common oppressor, a common exploiter, and a common discriminator. But once we all realize that we have a great common enemy, or a common enemy, I added the great, then we unite on the basis that we have in common. And what we have foremost in common is that enemy, the white man. He's an enemy to all of us. I know some of you think that some of them are enemies. Time will tell. In Bangdong, back in, I think, 1945, was the first utility meeting in centuries of black people. And once you study what happened at the Bangdong Conference as the result of the Bangdong Conference, It, actually serves as a good model for the same procedure you and I can use to get our problem solved. At Bangdong, all the nations came together, the dark nations from Africa and Asia. Some of them were Buddhists, some of them were Muslims, some of them were Christians. Some of them Confucians, whatever that means. Some of them atheists, despite their religious differences. They came together. Some were communists, some were socialists, some were capitalists. Despite the economical and political differences, they came together. All of them were black, brown, red, or yellow. The number one thing that was not allowed to attend the Bangdong conference was the white man. He couldn't come. Once they excluded the white man, they found that they could get together. Once they kept him out, everyone else fell right in and fell in line. This is the thing that you and I have to understand. That these people who came together didn't have nuclear weapons. They didn't have jet planes. They didn't have all of the heavy itineraries that the white man has, but they had utility. They were able to submerge their little petty differences and agree on one thing, that there's one African came from Kenya and was being colonized by the Englishmen. And another African came from the Congo and was being colonized by the Belgians. And another African came from the Guinea and was being colonized by the French. And another came from Mongolia and was being colonized by the Portuguese. Oh, really? When they came to an Bangdong conference, they looked at the Portuguese, they looked at the Frenchmen, they looked at the Englishmen, they looked at the Dutchmen. They learned or realized one thing that all of them had in common. They were all from Europe. I will figure that out in like 5 seconds now. They were all Europeans. Blonde, blue eyes, white skin. They began to recognize who our enemy was. The same man that was colonizing our people in Kenya was colonizing our people in the Congo. The same one in the Congo was colonizing our people in South Africa, in the southern Rhodesia, in the Burma, and in India, and in the Afghanistan, and in Pakistan. They realized all over the world where the dark man was being oppressed. He was being oppressed by the white man. Where the dark man was being exploited, he was being exploited by the white man. So they got together on this basis that they had a common enemy. And when you and I in Detroit and in Michigan and in America, who have been awakened today, look around us, we too realize here in America we all have a common enemy. Whether he's in Georgia or Michigan or whether he's in California or New York. He's the same man, blue eyes, blonde hair, pale skin. The same man. So what we have to do is what they did. No. So what we have to do is what they did. They agreed to stop quarreling among themselves. Any little spat that they had, they settle it amongst themselves. Go into a huddle. Don't let the enemy know when you got a disagreement. Don't let the enemy know that you got a disagreement. Instead of airing our differences in public, we have to realize that we're all the same family. And when you have a family squabble, you don't get out on the sidewalk. If you do, everyone calls you uncloth, unrefined, uncivilized, savage. If you don't make it at home, you settle it at home. You get in the closet, argue it out behind the closed doors, and then when you come out on the street, you pose a common front, a united front. This is what we need to do in the community, and in the city, and in the state. We need to stop airing our differences in front of the white man. We need to put the white man out of our meetings, and then sit down and talk shop with each other. That's what we got to do. I would like to make a few comments concerning the differences between the Black Revolution and the Brotherly Revolution. The Brother Revolution. Are they both the same? And if they're not, What is the difference? What is the difference between a black revolution and a brother revolution? First, what is a revolution? Sometimes I'm inclined to believe that many of our people are using this word revolution loosely, without taking careful considerations of what this word actually means and what its historic characteristics are. When you study the historic nature of revolutions, the motive of a revolution, the objective of the revolution, the result of a revolution, and the methods used in the revolution, you may change words. You may devise another program. You may change your goal and you may change your mind. Look, at the American Revolution in the 1776, that revolution was for what? For land. Why did they want land? Independence. How was it carried out? Bloodshed. Number one, it was based on land, the bias of independence, and the only way they could get it was bloodshed. The French Revolution, what was it based on? The landless, uh, the landless against the landlord. What was it for? Land. How did they get it? Bloodshed. Was no love lost. No compromise. No negotiation. I'm telling you, you don't know what a revolution is. Because when you find out what it is, you'll get back in the alley and you'll get out of the way. The Russian Revolution. What was it based on? Land. The landless against the landlords. How did they bring it about? Bloodshed. You haven't got a revolution that doesn't involve bloodshed. And you're afraid to bleed? I said, are you afraid to bleed? As long as the white man sent you to Korea, you bled. He sent you to Germany, you bled. He sent you to South Pacific, you fought to fight Japanese, you bled. You bled for the white man, but when it comes to seeing your own churches being bombed and the little black girls murdered, you haven't got any blood. You bleed when the white man says bleed. You bite when the white man says bite. You bark when the white man says bark. I hate to say this about us, but it's true. How are you going to non-violent? How are you going to be non-violent in Mississippi, as violent as you were as violent as you were in Korea? How can you justify being non-violent in Mississippi and Alabama when your churches have been bombed and your little girls are being murdered, and at the same time you're gonna get violent with Hitler and Tojo and somebody else who you don't even know? If violence is wrong in America, violence is wrong abroad. If it is wrong to be violent, defending black women and black children and black babies and black men, then is it wrong for America to draft us and make us violent abroad in defense of her? And if it is right for America to draft us and teach us how to be violent in defense of her, then it is right for you and me to do the whatever is necessary to defend our own people right here in this country. The Chinese Revolution. They won the land. They threw the British out, along with the Uncle Tom Chinese. Yes, they did. They set a very good example. When I was in prison, I read an article. Don't be shocked when I say that I was in prison. You're still in prison. That's what America means. Prison. When I was in prison, I read an article in Life magazine showing a little Chinese girl, 9 years old. Her father was on his hands and knees. She and she was pulling the trigger because he was an Uncle Tom Chinaman. When they had the revolution over there, they took a whole generation of Uncle Toms and just wiped them out. And within 10 years, that little girl became a full grown woman. No more Toms in China. And today, it's one of the toughest, roughest, most feared countries on earth by the white man. Because there are no Uncle Toms over there. If you don't know what Uncle Tom is, imagine, if you will, back in slavery times, you try and run away, right? You don't want to be on that farm. You ain't gotta pick the cotton, so you try and run. And all of a sudden, one of the people you know there on the farm rings a bell, starts alerting the master. trying to get you in trouble. So then they get like more food or better rights or something. And it's just like, dang, you just trying to run. Because that's the difference between the house brother and the field brother. Another Malcolm X speech you can look up yourself. Of all our studies, history is best qualified to reward our research. And when you see that you've got problems, all you have to do is examine the historic method used all over the world by others who have problems similar to yours. Once you see how they got theirs straight, and then you know how you can get yours straight. There's been a revolution, a black revolution, going on in Africa, in Kenya, in the Mau Mau revolutionary. They were the ones who brought the word uhuru, ahuru, ahuru, uhuru, ahuru. That's all I got. I'm sorry. Uhuru, ahuru, ahuru, to the force, to the fore. The Mau Mau, they were revolutionary, and they believed the scorched earth. Oh, they believed in scorched earth. They knocked everything aside that they got in their way. Excuse me. And the revolution was based on land, a desire for land. In Algeria, the northern part of Africa, a revolution was took place. The Algerians were revolutionists. They wanted land. France offered to let them be integrated into France. They told France, to hell with France. I would too. They wanted some land, not from France. They were engaged in a blood battle. So I cite these various revolutions, brothers and sisters, to show you that you don't have a peaceful revolution. To show you don't have a peaceful revolution. You don't have a turn the other cheek revolution. There's no such thing as a non-violent revolution. There's no such thing as a non-violent revolution. The only kind of revolution that is non-violent is the brother revolution. The only revolution in which the goal is loving your enemy is the brother revolution. It is the only revolution in which the goal is to desegregate lunch counters, a desegregated theater, a desegregated park, a desegregated public toilet. You can sit down next to the white folks on the toilet. That's no revolution. A revolution is based on land. Land is the bias of all independence. Land is the bias of freedom, justice, and equality. The white man knows what a revolution is. He knows that the black revolution is worldwide in scope and in nature. The black revolution is sweeping Asia. It's sweeping Africa. Is rearing its head in Latin America. The Cuban Revolution. That is a revolution. They overturned the system. Revolution is in Asia. Revolution is in Africa. The white man is screaming because he sees revolution in Latin America. How do you think he'll react to you when you learn what a real revolution is? You don't know what a revolution is. If you did, you wouldn't use that word. Revolution is bloody. Revolution is hostile. Revolution knows no compromise. Revolution overturns and destroys everything that gets in its way. And you sitting around there like a knot in the wall saying, I'm going to love these folks no matter what. No matter how much hate. No. I'm going to love these folks no matter how much they hate me. No, you need a revolution. Who ever heard of a revolution where they locked arms as Reb Cleage was pointing out, beautifully singing, we shall overcome? You don't do that in a revolution. You don't do any singing. You're too busy swinging. It's based on land. A revolutionary wants land so he can set his own nation, an independent nation. These brothers aren't asking for any nation. They're trying to crawl back on the. They're trying to crawl. They're trying to crawl back on the. Sorry, nation. They're trying to crawl back on the plantation. When you want a nation, that's called nationalism. When the white man became involved in a revolution in this country against England, what was it? What was it for? What was it? He wanted his land so he could set up another white nation. That's white nationalism. The American Revolution was white nationalism. The French Revolution was white nationalism. The Russian Revolution, too, yes, it was white nationalism. You don't think so? Why do you think Khrushchev and Mao can't get their heads together? White nationalism, all the revolutions that are going on in Asia and Africa today are based on what? Black nationalism. A revolutionary is a black nationalist. He wants a nation. I was reading some beautiful words from Rev Cleavage pointing out why he couldn't get together with someone else in the city because all of them were afraid of being identified with a black nationalist. If you're afraid of black nationalists, you're afraid of revolution. And if you love revolution, you love black nationalists. To understand this, you have to go back to what the young brother has referred to as the house brother and the field brother back during slavery. Oh, this might be it, huh? This could be it. Uh, this is kind of funny because I forgot this was in here, but I haven't read this in like 2 years, so. Alright. There are two kinds of slaves, the house brother and the field brother. The house brother, they lived in the house with the master. They dressed pretty good. They ate good because they ate his food. What he left. They lived in the attic or the basement, but still they lived near the master. They loved the master more than the master loved himself. They would give their lives to save the master house quicker than the master would. If the master said, "We got a good house here," the house brother says, "Yeah, we got a good house here." Whenever the master said "we," he say "we." That's how you can tell a house brother. If the master caught on fire, the house brother would fight harder to put the blaze out than the master would. If the master got sick, the house brother would say, "What's the matter, boss? We sick?" "We sick." He identified himself with the master, more than his master identified with himself. And if you came to the house brother and said, "Let's run away, let's escape, let's separate," the house brother would look at you and say, "Man, you crazy. What do you mean separate? Where is a better house than this? Where can I wear better clothes than this? Where can I eat better food than this?" That was house brother. That was that house brother. In those days, he was called a house harar. And that's what we call them today because we've still got some house brothers walking around here. This modern house brother loves his master. He wants to live near him. He'll pay 3 times as much as the house is worth just to live near his master. And then brag about, "I'm the only brother around out here. I'm the only one on my job. I'm the only one in this school. You're nothing but a house brother." And if someone comes to you right now and says, "Let's separate," you say the same thing that the house brother said on the plantation. "What you mean separate? From America? This good white man. When you gonna get a better job than the one you got here?" I mean, this is what you say. "I ain't left nothing in Africa." That's what you say. Why? You left your mine in Africa. On the same plantation, there was a field brother. The field brother, those were the masses. They were always more brother in the fields than there were in the house. The brother in the fields caught hell. He ate leftovers in the house that ate high up on the hog. The brother in the field didn't get anything but what was left of the inside of the hog. They call it chitlins. Nowadays, in those days, they called them what they were, guts. That's what they were, gut eaters. And some of you are still gut eaters. The field brother was beaten from the morning to night. He lived in a shack, in a hut. He wore old cast-off clothes. He hated his master. I say he hated his master. He was intelligent. That house brother loved his master. But that field brother, remember, they were the majority, and they hated the master. When the house caught on fire, he didn't try to put it out. The field brother prayed for a wind, for a breeze. When the master got sick, the field brother prayed he died. If someone came if someone came to the field brother and said, "Let's separate, let's run," he didn't say, "Where are we going?" He say, "Any place is better than here." You got field brothers in America today. I'm a field brother. The masses are field brothers. When they see this man's house on fire, they don't hear our little brothers talking about our government is in trouble. They say the government is in trouble. Imagine, brothers, our government. I even heard one say, our astronauts. They won't even let him near the plant. And our astronauts, our Navy, that's a brother that is out of his mind. A brother that is out of his mind. Just as slave masters of the day used Toms. By the way, this is his words. Thank God this is a book, because nowadays these are a little bit not modern, but you must understand this was 1964, so shit was really real. Um, but you understand what I'm talking about, right? You feeling this energy? You feeling the way that all of a sudden you can just put power behind that word, but power, all that, that's what I love about this book. He can really just spark out sometimes. Anyway. Just as the slave master of the day used Tom, the house brother, to keep the field brothers in check, the same old slave master today has brothers who are nothing but modern Uncle Toms. 20th century Uncle Toms to keep you and me in check. To keep us under control. To keep us passive and peaceful and nonviolent. That's Tom making you nonviolent. It is like when you go to the dentist and the man going to take your tooth, man is going to take tooth, and you're going to fight him when he starts pulling. So he squirts some stuff in your jaw called Novocaine to make them think you're not doing anything to you. So you sit there, and because you got all that Novocaine in your jaw, you suffer peacefully. Blood running down your jaw, and you don't know what's happening because someone has taught you to suffer peacefully. The white man does the same thing to you in the street when he wants to put knots in your head and take advantage of you and not have to be afraid of you fighting back. To keep you from fighting back, he gets these old religious Uncle Toms to teach you and me, just like Novocaine, to suffer peacefully. Don't stop suffering, just suffer peacefully. As Reb Cleaves point out, they say you should let your blood flow in the streets. This is a shame. You know he's a Christian priester? If it's a shame to him, you know it is to me. There is nothing in our book, the Korean, the Quran, my bad, I read that wrong. The Quran that teaches us to suffer peacefully. Our religion teaches us to be intelligent, be peaceful, be courteous, obey the law, respect everyone. But if someone puts a hand on you, send him to the cemetery. That's a good religion. In fact, that's the old time religion. That's what the mom and pa used to talk about. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a head for a head, a life for a life. That's a good religion. Nobody resents that kind of religion being taught but a wolf, who intends to make you his meal. Of course. This is the way it is. This is the way it is with the white man in America. He's a wolf, and you're sheep. Anytime a shepherd, a pastor teaches you and me not to run from the white man, and at the same time teaches us not to fight the white man, he is a traitor to you and me. Don't lay down a life all by itself. No, preserve your life. It is best thing you got. And if you've got to give it up, let it be even Stephen. The slave master took Tom, dressed him well, fed him well, and even gave him a little education, gave him a long coat and a top hat, and made all other slaves look to him. Then he uses Tom to control them. The same strategy that was used in those days is used today by the same white man. He takes a brother a so-called brother, and makes him predominant, builds him up, publicizes him, makes him a celebrity, and then he becomes a spokesman for brothers, and then a brother leader. Sorry, that was my cat. Here we go, Fatty. Alright, so where was I? Even Steven. Alright, so the so-called brother, it makes him predominant, builds him up, makes him a celebrity. He becomes a brother leader. I would like to mention just one other thing quickly, and that is the method that is the white man uses. How the white man uses the big guns or brother leaders against the brother revolution. And there are not a part of the brother revolution. They are used against the brother revolution. When Martin Luther King Jr. failed to desegregate Albania, Albany, Georgia, the civil rights struggle in America reached its low point. King became bankrupt, almost as a leader. The Southern Christian Leadership Conference was in financial trouble, and it was in trouble, period. With the people when they failed to desegregate Albany, Georgia, other brother civil rights leaders of so-called national stature became fallen idols. As they became fallen idols, began to lose their prestige, their influence, local brother leaders began to stir up the masses. In Cambridge, Maryland, Gloria Richardson. In Danville, Virginia, and other parts of the country, local leaders began to stir up our people at the grassroots level. And this was never done by these brothers of national status. They control you. They have been incited you, but they have never incited you or excited you. They control you. They contain you. They have kept you on the plantation as soon as the king himself failed in Birmingham. Brothers took to the streets. King went out to California to a big rally and he raised I don't know how many thousands of dollars. He came to Detroit. He had a march and raised some more thousands of dollars. And I recall right after that, Roy Wilkins attacked King. He accused King and core Congress of racial equality, of starting trouble everywhere, and then making the NAACP, National Organization for the Advancement of Colored People, to get them out of jail and spend a lot of money. They accused King and core of raising all that money and not paying it back. This happened. I got it all in document evidence in the newspaper. Roy started attacking King and King started attacking Roy. The farmer started attacking both of them. And as these brothers of national security began to attack each other, they began to lose control of the brother masses. The brothers were out there in the streets. They were talking about how they were going to march on Washington. Right at that time, Birmingham had exploded. And the brothers in Birmingham, remember, they also exploded. They began to stab the crackers in the back and bust them on the side of their heads. Yes, they did. That's when Kennedy sent the troops down in Birmingham. After that, Kennedy got on television and said, "This is a moral issue." And when he said he was going to pull out a civil rights bill, and when he mentioned a civil rights bill and the Southern crackers started talking about it, they were going to boycott and filibuster it. And then the brothers started talking about what? They were going to march on Washington, march on Senate, march on the White House, march on Congress, tie it up, bring it to a halt, not even let the government proceed. They even said they were going to go to the airport, lay down on the runway, and not let any planes land. I'm telling you what they said. That was revolution. That was revolution. That was the Black Revolution. It was the grassroots out there in the streets. It scared the white men to death. Scared the white power structure in Washington to death. I was there. When they found out this black steamroller was going to come down on Capitol, they called in Wilkins. They called in Randolph. If you don't remember, Randolph is someone who I mentioned in an earlier video, so you check that out. They called in these national brother leaders that you respect, and I told them, "Call it off," Kennedy said. "Look, you all letting these letting these things go too far, or letting this thing get too far. And the old Tom said, "Boss, I can't stop it, 'cause I didn't start it. And I'm telling you what they said. They said, I'm not even in it, much less at the head of it. They said, these brothers are doing things on their own. They're running ahead of us. And that old Sherwood Fox, he said, if you all aren't in it, I'll put you in it. I'll put you on the head of it and endorse it. I'll welcome it. I'll help it. I'll join it." A matter of hours went by. They had a meeting at the Cardinal House in New York City. At the Cardinal Hotel is owned by the Kennedy family. And the hotel Kennedy spent the night at 2 nights ago, it belongs to his family's. A philanthropist society headed by the white man named Stephen Curry called at the top civil rights leaders together at the Curly Hotel. And he told them, by you all fighting each other, you are destroying the civil rights movement. And since you're fighting over the money, you white liberals, from white liberals, let us step up what is known as the Council for the United Civil Rights Leadership. Let's form the council, and all the civil rights organizations will belong to it, and will use it for fundraising purposes. Let me show you let me show you how tricky the white man is. As soon as they got it formed, they elected Whitney Young as the chairman. And who do you think became the co-chairman? Stephen Currier, the white man, a millionaire. Powell was talking about it down at Cobo Hall today. This is what he was talking about. Powell knows it happened. Rudolph knows it happened. Wilkins knows it happened. King knows it happened. Every one of the big six, they know it happened. Once they formed it with the white man over it, he promised them he'd give them $800,000 to split up among the big six. He told them that after the march was over, he'd give them 700,000 more. $1.5 million split between the leaders that you have been following. Going to jail for. Crying crocodile tears for. And they're nothing but Frank James and Jesse James. And what do you call 'em, brothers? As soon as they got the setup organized, the white man made it available to them. Top public relations experts opened the news media across the country at their disposal, which they began to project these big six that they was the leaders of the march. Originally, they weren't even in the march. You were talking to this march on Hastings Street. You were talking march talk to Lenox Avenue, on the Fillmore Street, on Central Avenue, on 32nd and 63rd Street. That's where the march talk was being talked. But the white man put six at the head of it, made them the march. They became the march. They took it over. The first move they made after they took it over, they invented Walter Reuther, a white man. They invented a priest, a rabbi, and an old preacher. Yes, an old white preacher. The same white element that put Kennedy into power. Labor, the Catholic, the Jews, the liberal protestants. The same clique that put Kennedy in power joined in on the march on Washington. It's just like when you got some coffee that's too black, which means it's too strong. What do? You integrate it with some cream. You make it weak. But if you pour too much cream in it, you don't even know you had coffee. It used to be hot. It becomes cool. It used to be strong. It becomes weak. It used to wake you up. Now it puts you to sleep. This is what they did with the march on Washington. They joined it. They didn't integrate it. They infiltrated and infiltrated it. They joined it. They became part of it. They took it over, and they took it over. And as they took it over, it lost its military. It ceased to be angry. It ceased to be hot. It ceased to be uncompromising. Why? It even ceased to be a march. It became a picnic, a circus. Nothing but a circus with clowns and all. You had one right here in Detroit. I saw on television with clowns leading it. White colors and white clowns and black clowns. I know you don't like what I'm saying, but I'm gonna tell you anyway because I can prove what I'm saying. If you think I'm telling you wrong, you bring me Martin Luther King, A. Philip Randolph, and James Farmer and those other three and see if they'll deny it over a microphone. No, it was a sellout. It was an overtake. When James Baldwin came in from Paris, they wouldn't let him talk because they couldn't make him go by the script. Burt Lancaster read the speech that Baldwin was supposed to make. They wouldn't let Baldwin get up there because they know Baldwin is liable to say anything. They controlled it so tight that those brothers what time they told those brothers what time to hit the town, how to come, where to stop, what signs to carry, what songs to sing, what speeches they could make, what speech they couldn't make, and then told them to get out of town by sundown. And every one of those Toms was out of town by sundown. Now I know you don't like me saying this, but I can back it up. It was a circus. A performance that beat anything Hollywood could ever do. The performance of a year. Ruther and those other three devils should get an Academy Award for the best actor because they acted like they really loved the brother and fooled a lot of brothers, and the six brother leaders should get an award too for the best supporting cast. Well, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, sorry, that's my brother. Let's see, it is 56. It's basically been an hour. This has been Malcolm X Speaks. I hope that you could listen to what I had to say. These aren't my words again. These are Brother Malcolm X's, but I hope you really do enjoy this. I really do want to do the second chapter. Uh, yeah, a lot to unpack. So what he was talking about was, well, it's still a bit of a problem. So the world of America is run mostly by, white, because that's what most people, and then now there's going to be more Mexicans, there's going to be more black people eventually, but as of now, America is still very white. So, with this problem, the white man, to Brother Malcolm X, it was the entirety of white America. That's why I call him White America, because that's the part that doesn't like most things. That's mostly where some people get problems. Like you play your music too loud, bit of white America. Them's the Christian ladies, or maybe them's the Jewish girls, or maybe that's just the old grandma who doesn't like music. It doesn't matter what race, doesn't matter what religion. Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter what religion. It doesn't matter race. Either you're part of the white America, or either you're an Uncle Tom. Or you could be something else. There's multiple things, but that's in my eyes. In my eyes, there are only 5 different types of people. There's humans, civilians. They just do their work, act out regularly. It's cool. You got the Uncle Toms. Uncle Toms, now, they're just brothers that snitch. But I'm not saying like they did it for a good reason. Like, oh, well, my grandma was gonna die of cancer if I didn't tell her that her pot roast fucking sucked. No. I'm talking like, oh, hey, like, oh, hey, look at that guy. He's doing something. Stop him, snap him. Those learny little snot dudes. Hate them. Then third, most of all, you have what I call, little b-boys, bad boys and girls. They do the stuff you want to do or you don't want to do, but you were always wondering who would do it. Like steal a car or do fent or maybe do a backflip off of a Wendy's. I guess it's not really legal, but it's still a little funny. Then you got white America. Now, I may be a little fair-skinned, right? I know if I walked into a goddamn competition, I'd probably get kicked out immediately, but You gotta understand, I grew up on the streets, man. I've been around all this stuff, and no truer words have ever came out of no one's mouth than Malcolm. That's the reason why I like him so much, because he just says the basic things. Malcolm is basically saying, hey, here's the stuff you know. You forgot about it. Don't. That's him. Malcolm X. That's just him in my words. I don't know. I'm only 17, but as it's a part of his book. Hope you liked it. And yeah, this is chapter 1. Peace. Oh, yeah, and the final people, I like to call them monsters. Because, some people really don't deserve it. You got the serial killers, you got the rapists out there, you got the monsters. You just gotta. Mm, I don't know. Anyway, like I said though, Malcolm X Speaks. I highly recommend you guys get this book. Very good book. I'll catch you later. Peace.